We actually got our first hater. Can you believe that? It's been 8 years. We finally have a hater here in the padded room. How dope is that? 8 years we've had nothing but positive feedback. We finally have a hater. Thank you, Eldritch Evil 666. They're mad at us, whoever they are. I know they're not watching this, but I'm gonna give them a shout out and give them some love anyway. Eldritch Palmer 666 on YouTube was mad at us because we didn't like the strange color of your body's tears. I'm going to do them a favor and not read their comment because it's very condescending. But what I will say is that they basically didn't like it because, well, they didn't like me, of course, which is fine. I get that. I'm not a very likable guy. But their main problem was that we, quote unquote, didn't connect with the movie. And that's, quote unquote, the movie's fault. Yes, it is. That's a shit movie. And if you want to come on, if you are watching, or if anybody knows who Eldritch Palmer 666 is, have them contact me. I would love to have them on the show so that they can defend that movie. I would love to. I told you up front, Eldritch Palmer 666, I'm not smart enough to understand that fucking movie. Now, if you want to tell me what's so great about it, I'd love to hear it. Because I don't fucking get it, man. To me, it's garbage. It's artsy fartsy crap, and it doesn't make any goddamn sense. If you want to come on and tell me what I missed, I would love to hear that. Hear your side of the argument there. Regardless, I am not here to talk to you about Eldritch Palmer 666. I am here to talk to you tonight about the children. That was probably a little creepy pedophile-ish in a weird way, and that's weird and wrong, and I apologize. The Children is actually a movie from 1980, and it stars. I'm going to get into the podcast real quick. It's just me tonight, guys. I'm sorry. Nobody, no Monica, just little old me. I don't know. She's at the DMV, and he, I think, is still at work. So you're stuck with me tonight, kids. I'm sorry. The show must go on, and I'll be goddamn if I don't bring you a Padded Room podcast every freaking week. Although I have to tell you right now, there will be no Padded Room podcast next week because chances are my floors are being redone, and this room is going to be demolished. Week after that, we should be right back up at you. And you know what? If it goes smoothly, I might just throw one out there at you anyway. Who knows? I don't know what I'm doing, man. I'll be honest. I don't even know what I'm doing. All right, let's get into this podcast here, shall we? This is actually the first horror movie I recall seeing. I think I was probably about 4 years old. Stevesy's in the house. What's up, Stevesy? I think I was about 4 years old. It came out in 1980. I probably didn't hit cable television until 82. I was born in 78, so that's going to put me probably about 4 years old. I don't remember. Oh, hey, Troy's in the house. What's up, Troy? What's up, Alan? Alan hanging in here. I am flying solo tonight, Troy. I apologize for that. I know nobody wants to watch this goddamn thing if it's just me, and I understand that because I'm not an attractive man, and also I can be a bit of a turd. So I'm going to try to lower down the turdness a little bit. Rock and roll, Stevesy. But we're here to talk about the children. So let's do a podcast, shall we? I got my microphone right here. I'm flying solo. I've had about 4 shots. I'm exhausted. I'll tell you right now. Back a few years ago. Yeah, dude. This is a rough one, Troy. I don't. I mean, I I could have swore that this was a made-for-TV movie. It's not though, and I can tell you it's not because there's actually female nudity involved in this, and I was not. I could have. I don't remember seeing that, but I don't remember seeing this movie like within the last, I don't know, 20 years, give or take. So whatever's going. Apparently, this movie was. I don't know if it got a theatrical release or not, but it's ridiculous. All right, let's cut the crap and get into the podcast here, shall we? And if anybody runs into Eldritch Palmer 666, tell them to come talk to me. Hey, Alan. Alan, we got our first hater. We got our first hater in the padded room. I've been doing this for 8 years. We finally got a hater. Can you believe it? Oh God, there's so many people I'd like to thank for this. My parents, of course. the other horror podcasts out there for setting the bar so high. Um, oh God, it's just the list goes on and on. Thank you all so much for making our first hater possible. Eldritch Palmer 666 on YouTube. Get with me. I want to talk to you about the strange color of your. They're mad at me because I didn't like the strange color of your body's tears. And oh, don't, hey, Alan, no, let's not get personal. Their main gripe is that I'm smug, which I am, and that I didn't. You must be doing something right. That's exactly right, Steve Z. That's exactly right, and that I didn't connect with the movie. And I'll agree with him on that point. I didn't connect with the movie because the movie is unconnectable. All right, enough about Eldritch Palmer 666. Let's get into The Children from 1980. Eldritch Palmer 666, thank you very much, my friend. You are you're our first hater, and I love you for it. And I'll give you a hug. Come on, come talk to me. We'll get you on the show. We'll talk about the strange color of your body's tears. But right now, we have to do a podcast about the children. Here we go. That's right, inmates. We're talking about The Children from 1980, mind you. This is not the 2011 pseudo remake. I don't know if that was a remake or not, but this one is directed by Max Kalmanowskowitz, written by Colton J. Albright, and stars Martin Shakar, Gil Rogers, and Gail Garnett. This one got 5.5 stars on IMDb. Now, I could have swore that this was a made-for-TV movie. Turns out that's not the case. And I can tell you that for a fact because we do actually get to see some nudity in this one. This is the first horror movie that I recall watching. I don't remember being scared by it. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the villains were actually children around about my age when the movie came out. It's a very strange movie. We're gonna jump right in here. So we're in a small town. I'm gonna put us probably Pennsylvania, Virginia area, somewhere like that, and we've got a chemical plant. Oh, it's supposed to be a nuclear power plant, but it doesn't have the big hourglass cones that we know and love from the nuclear power plants. This one just has like a bunch of silos and stuff. We got some blue collar dudes hanging around the chemical plant, and they're running around trying to find the reason for the low pressure valve. Is the thing. So, being the blue collar dudes that they are, eventually they're like, you know what? We can't find it. We're gonna go have a beer. Forget the whole thing. So they take off. As soon as they leave, this weird orange cloud of, I guess, it reminded like somebody took a handful of Tang. You remember Tang? Tang was the shit around about eighth grade. Uh, it's like an orange sports drink mix. I don't know what you'd call it these days, but it's just orange sugar is pretty much what it was. But it's like somebody took a handful of it and threw it out in the air, and poof, like an orange cloud starts coming out of one of these silos. So what they're telling us is that they have some kind of a chemical leak. Okay, all right, I got you. Now, normally I would say, well, we're going to Trauma Town. This is clearly toxic orange drink. You're exactly right, Troy. They had a big ad campaign running though, early '90s, where it was like the drink of the astronauts. Like that's what astronauts drank when they were in space was Tang. So you got to get yourself some Tang if you want to be like the astronauts. It wasn't that good, and if you mixed it with water, it was chalky and disgusting. And I don't know, man. It was never that great. It was bad. It was bad business, but whatever. So you had like this orange cloud comes out of this chemical plant, right? Now we're going to cut to about a mile or two away. We have the small town of Ravensback. Ravensback. Uh, all right. I don't know where we're going with this, but all right. So the orange cloud travels to Ravensback, and we have a group of school children on their way home from school bus, going right through the orange cloud. Okay. School bus. They're all happy singing until they get through the orange cloud. Then you hear them coughing, and then that's it. From there, we're going to cut to the sheriff's deputy, guy by the name of Harry. I don't know, probably a couple miles away. He's hitting on the farmer's daughter, as he should be. He's a handsome 22-year-old stud. She's probably days past 18. Nice body on her. Her name's Susie, by the way. And he's telling her what's up. And I think they've probably already had sex. Not that it matters, but just judging by the amount of groping going on, they probably at one point or another actually did fuck. And I hope that they did, by the way. So from there, everything's cool. The actual sheriff rolls by and he's like, "Hey, man, how long you been standing?" He's like, "Hey, sheriff, I'm just here talking to Susie, make sure everything's okay." Sheriff rolls on out. From there, the actual sheriff, not Harry, the 22-year-old horny deputy, but the actual sheriff rolls down the road, comes across the school bus. Now, the school bus at this point has been completely abandoned. No bus driver, no kids, nada. So the sheriff is like, "Well, this is fucking weird." Henry the bus driver would never abandon shop like this. So he gets out and he starts poking around the school bus. The orange cloud is gone, mind you. Goes inside the school bus. All the kids have left all of their school shit there. It's just there. You got like the books and the comic books and the crayons and the lunch boxes. It's all just hanging as if they all just got up and left. All right, that's a little creepy. That's a little creepy. I don't know what these kids are up to. Why they just leaving their shit like that, I have no idea. So the sheriff starts poking around. Eventually, he's like, "Dude, I don't know about this shit." So he's thinking about, now this is a small town, right? So he's like, "Okay, these are the school kids. The next stop for this bus line would be the Gould place, where Jeffy Gould, who lives right up the road here, would get off and meet his mother." So he's like, "Okay, let me go see if maybe they ran into car trouble. Maybe he just walked from here. I'm gonna go on up the road here and see what I can find out at the Gould place." Now, small town, okay, 1980. Probably this movie was made more like 78, but came out in 1980. Well, we got some weird shit going on in Ravensback, and it starts right here at the Gould residence. Dr. Gould, who is, I guess, the owner of this house and the property, is a young lady. I'm going to put her probably mid 30s. She's a doctor, and she's a bit of a see you next Tuesday, if you understand what I'm telling you. So the sheriff rolls up. Instead of going to the front door, he just goes around the back where the swimming pool is. We see Dr. Gould hanging out there. She's in a bikini, pretty attractive, blonde, nice body on her. The sheriff rolls up. He's like, "Hey, man, did Jeffy make it home from school?" And she's like, "You know what? I don't think that's any of your business." Now, this is where things get weird in the town of Ravensback, especially here at the Dr. Gould residence. Um, I don't know what's going on here, and I don't know what kind of doctor Dr. Gould is, but apparently Jeffy, who is the child that should have showed up at this house, is not actually Dr. Gould's son. Jeffy is the son of Miss Buttons, who is in residence at the Gould house. I don't know how this works, but the sheriff rolls up and he's like, "Hey, can I speak to Miss Buttons? I need to know if Jeffy shows up." Dr. Gould pops up from her pool chair and she's like, "You know what? I'll go talk to Miss Buttons. You don't come near her." Dude, seriously, let's just all chill out here for a second, okay? So the sheriff's like, okay, follows her around to the back of the house, where Dr. Gould like runs into the back of the house, slams the sliding glass door on the sheriff's face, like, "You're not getting in here. She's very sick and she doesn't need to talk to anybody right now." Now let's talk about Miss Buttons. This is where things get even weirder. Miss Buttons, there in the house, playing the piano in a very catatonic, confused state. Like she's like, "Ah, da, 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 da." Dr. Gould rolls in and she's like, "Hey, Nancy, uh, sheriff's here to talk to you about Jeffy. Has Jeffy showed up?" And she's like, "Jeffy, oh yeah, I don't know, Jeffy." And then she's like, you know what? You're under a lot of stress. I'm going to give you some more Percocet, and you need better go lie down. Okay, this is weird. This is weird. I don't know what the fuck's going on here, but it strikes me as like a weird, like Dr. Gould is keeping Ms. Buttons doped up at like some kind of a human trafficking sex slave type of a deal. I don't know, man. It's weird. I don't understand it. If they're in a lesbian relationship, I get that. That makes sense. But what's going on here is like borderline rapey, and how does this kid come into play? I don't know. Eventually, the sheriff is like, "Oh, I'm just gonna wait outside." Then Doctor Gould is like, "You know what?" She runs inside, puts some clothes on, comes out. She's like, "You know what? Miss Buttons needs some rest, so she's just gonna go upstairs and rest." She said she hadn't seen Jeffy, and the sheriff's like, "Oh, fuck. Okay, all right. I guess I'll just keep looking then." And she's like, "You know what? I'm gonna have a look for myself because I don't think I fucking trust you." So she runs inside, puts some jeans on and a shirt, goes back outside, follows the sheriff to the school bus. All right. I don't know what the hell the bus is abandoned. I don't know what a doctor's going to do in this situation, but as if the sheriff somehow missed something. The Dr. Gould follows the sheriff back to the school bus. They both have a poking around. Now, it's important to note at this point that when the school bus was abandoned, it was right next to a cemetery. So that's pretty cool. I like that part. Looked a lot like the cemetery from the Blair Witch Project, but was not in fact that cemetery. So they poke around. They get a bunch of stuff. Oh, the kids aren't here. It's not like Harry to just leave the school bus running like this. So Dr. Gould grabs all of Jeffy's stuff, and she's like, "I got Jeffy's stuff right here. He's clearly not here. What the hell's going on?" And the sheriff's like, "Yeah, I know he's not here. There's nobody here. I'm trying to figure it out." So the sheriff is like, "You know what? I'm going to go see where the other kids went. I'm going to go check their houses, see if any of them made it home." Dr. Gould's like, "Well, just fine. Just go ahead then." This is a hot 35-year-old blonde with a nice body on her. Mind you that as we move forward. All right, so he takes off, and she's there at the school bus. Now, as she's getting ready to leave, she looks up at the cemetery right across the road there, and she sees like some of the kids like going in and out of the tombstones and stuff. She thinks she spots Jeffy. So she's like, "Jeffy, get your ass over here." She goes running over to the cemetery, starts trying to find Jeffy. He's weaving in and out of the tombstones like a little prick. She's chasing him around. Eventually, she gets him and she finds Jeffy, and she's like, "Jeffy, what's going on with the school bus?" Now, let's talk about Jeffy here for a minute, kids. This is where the weirdness and the ridiculousness actually kicks in because, oh, I don't know if we're going zombie or possessed or some kind of a chemical mutation, perhaps. I don't know. I lean towards zombie, but with the use of motor skills and out of vocalization still. So eventually she grabs Jeffy. She's like, "Jeffy, what the fuck's going on?" Jeffy's now in this weird catatonic zombie state where he's like, "Mama, mama." Eyes are all sunken in. He's pale. Now, I know what you're thinking at this point. You're thinking, "Darian, how do we know he's a zombie?" Black fingernails. Okay, that's how we know. Have you ever seen a zombie with black fingernails in your life? Other than no, we have not. I don't think we've ever actually looked at the fingernails of a zombie or taken the time to actually give a shit. But in this case, that's how we know the good kids from the bad kids because the bad kids all of a sudden have black fingernails. So here comes Jeffy around the tombstone. She's like, "Jeffy, get over here." He gives her a hug. She then explodes into a cloud of weird orange mist, and her face melts completely off. Okay, so that's what we're doing. He doesn't eat her, mind you. He doesn't bite her. He doesn't assault her in any way. Just gives her a hug. Orange mist, face melt, done. That's what we're doing. So these kids are fucking assholes, is what it boils down to. Now let's move right along. So we have the sheriff. He's going basically door to door trying to figure out if any of the kids from the bus made it home. Next stop, the Shore residence. Now let's talk a little bit about the shores of Ravenback, Pennsylvania, or wherever the fuck we're at. This is your rich playboy style couple, I guess you'd call them. You can tell that they're rich because they have a swimming pool, just like Dr. Gould. But now that I think about it, it's probably the same house. Regardless, the sheriff comes around back. Uh, so we have the Shores, Dee Dee and Thomas. Thomas is well oiled in a whitey tighty, doing bicep curls by the pool as the sheriff rolls up. Dee Dee, the wife, is completely naked and hanging by the pool smoking weed. Sheriff rolls up. He's like, "Hey, Janet's the kid. Hey, has Janet make it home from school?" And they're like, "Yeah, of course she did." And they're like, "Oh, can I see her?" Well, she's probably skulking in the house. She's always skulking in the house. They're high as fucking kites. And then he's like, "Did you actually see Janet come home from school?" They're like, "No, but it's 3:30. I'm sure she's up there somewhere." So she didn't make it home from school. Then you fucking assholes. And then just to nail the point home, he takes their big mason jar of weed and throws it in the pool. I like that. These guys were turds. So he's like, okay, that's another missing kid that we have here in Ravensback. Maybe I'm going to look into this a little bit further, as he should. Now, about this time, we get to know the town of Ravensback a little bit better. We have like a general store type of a situation who's run by an older lady named Molly. So Molly is the town gossip, as you would expect her to be. He rolls up to the general store as two other guys, Hank and Frank, are trying to sell Molly uh, what I'm going to assume are dead chickens. And I think they were illegally poached or something like that because as soon as the sheriff walks in, they immediately try to hide the chickens. I don't know what's going on with these chickens. I'm not even sure that they were chickens. I don't know anything about poultry or livestock or anything. So I'm just going to put that out there. Regardless, he's like, Molly, do you know anything about missing kids? Because we got a couple missing kids. And Harry, who is apparently Molly's husband, the bus driver, has completely abandoned his bus and we can't find any of the kids. What's going on? So she's like, Sheriff, I don't know. She's got a CB radio that I guess she spreads gossip throughout the town via the CB radio. Nobody in this town has cable television, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that, but they're hard up for entertainment. That being said, the sheriff's like, you know what, man? I'm going to keep looking for missing kids. As they're having this conversation, another dude rolls into the general store, guy by the name of John, and he's like, "Hey, Molly, I need another can of ether. I'm having car problems." So John is actually the father of one of the kids that was on the school bus. So the sheriff's like, "Hey, Johnny, did Lisa make it home today?" And he's like, well, I got two kids, Lisa and Clark. Clark stayed home sick today. He's got the cold. And Lisa went to school. I don't know if she's home. My car's broke down out here." So he's like, all right. The sheriff's like, all right, man. Tell you what, we need to try to track down these kids because I don't know what the fuck is going on here. So let's get your car running and then we'll get you moving and we'll see if Lisa made it home. I want to know if any of these fucking kids made it home, which is a good question to ask about this time. He's like, yeah, okay. So they go out there. They get the car running. He's got like a muscle car. Um they get it going back towards John's house. Now, halfway there, John's car breaks down again. Sheriff shows up and he's like, dude, he's right behind him. He's like, come on, what fucking car? What are you doing? So he's like, oh, I don't know. About this time, we see now this is a heavily wooded area. And about this time, we see a bunch of the kids like hanging out in the woods. Sheriff and John don't see the kids. One of the kids we're going to recognize as John's daughter, Lisa, who's missing. He's like, I don't know, man. The fucking kids, I don't know. So about this time, the sheriff starts to panic. He's like, dude, I think we may have some kind of a human trafficking, abduction type of a thing going on. I don't like any of this shit. So he gets on the radio to Harry, his deputy, and he's like, dude, go to the interstate, set up a roadblock. Nobody gets in or out of Ravensback without you looking in their cars. I want to find these fucking kids. As he should. Solid plan. So Harry, who you'll recall, is still trying to make out with Susie, the hot farmer's daughter, is like, oh, God damn it. Well, all right, that's what I'm going to do. So by the interstate, it's really like a dirt road turnoff, and he sets up a couple of saw horses, and he's like, "All right, nobody gets in or out of here." Susie goes with him, and they make out at said roadblock in front of Hank and Frank, who I guess are the town lynch mob. All of a sudden, why not? It's Ravensback. It's got a population of 23 for all I fucking know. So that's cool. They got the town locked down. Now that's pretty gnarly. About this time, we're going to cut back to the sheriff, who is trying to get John back home to his wife. Actually, gets John back home to his wife. Now his wife. Let's talk about John's wife, Kathy. I was really hoping to watch her die because she is not a good person. She's played by Gail Garnett, who has the voice of a chain smoking truck driver. And she's about 9 months pregnant. She's got the full distended belly. And she's like, "You know what, John? I'm just good. Lisa hasn't made it home from school yet. She was supposed to come get her portrait painted by me because I'm very artistic." And John's like, "I know, sweetie. I'm sorry. We're trying to find out where she is right now. Is Clarky okay?" Now, Clark is the kid that stayed home from school that day because he is sick. So he's like, "I don't know. Clarky's upstairs. He's resting right now. He's very sick." Smoking cigarettes while she's 9 months pregnant. She's a human piece of shit as far as I'm concerned. All right, moving right along. They're like, "Okay, well, keep an eye on Clarky. We're going to go try to find the rest of these kids." So the sheriff takes off and he goes to a couple of the other parents' house, try to find out if their kids made it home. More or less, none of the kids made it home, is what I'm getting at. And that sucks because they're all missing and things are getting pretty gnarly. So now we're going to cut back to our roadblock. Harry, the deputy, is there, and he's still trying to make out with Susie. And eventually, she's like, "You know what, Harry? I am leaving. Just forget it." So she gets on her little 10 speed and takes off. Now, about this part, this is my favorite part of the whole movie. A guy by the name of Sanford Butler Jones rolls up. Now, it's not overtly stated, but I'm going to come right out and say it. Sanford Butler Jones is the drug dealer of the Shores. He rolls up in a Cadillac with like the power windows, which is a big deal in 1980. And he rolls up to the roadblock, and he's got like the pimp hat and white guy mustache. He looks like he's probably Jewish, but rolls up and rolls down his window. He's got power windows, so he's very impressed with these power windows. So he rolls up. Harry, the deputy, is like, "Hey, man, I don't know you. I'm not going to let you into Ravensback. We got a lot of problems right now. I'm sorry, but just moving on along." Window comes down. Boom. He pops his head out. "Clearly, you don't know who I am." Window goes up. Bzzz. This guy loves himself some power windows. Sheriff's like talking to the driver. He's like, "What the fuck is this guy?" "No, I don't know who you are, and I'm not letting you in here." Window comes down. "My name is Sanford Butler Jones. I'm a friend of the Shores. Just give them a call, and they'll sort the whole thing out." Window goes up. Now, mind you, this is a 1980s vehicle. So each time the window goes up and down, that's like a 15 to 30-second situation. So Sheriff is like, "Well, I don't have the Shore's phone number, and I'm not going to call them. I have my radio, and that's all I got." So here comes the window. "You know what? I'm Sanford Butler Jones. I've got a car phone right here, complete with the cord that is plugged into something. I'll call the Shores right now. She'll sort this whole thing out." Starts talking to Dee Dee Shore. "Dee Dee, yes, here's the sheriff." Hands him the car phone, and then the sheriff or the deputy talks to Dee Dee, and eventually they let Sanford Butler Jones in. Now, the only reason I bring this up is because he's probably the most likable character in the entire movie. And as Susie is tearing down the road on her 10 speed with a basket full of apples, he almost runs her over. Not necessarily Sanford Butler Jones's fault, but his driver, because he does have a driver, because he's that big of a deal. Where's the lovely Miss Monica? She's at the DMV, Nez, or at least that is her excuse for the evening. "Hey, Feeney's in the house." "What's up, Jessica Feeney?" Resurrection of Zombie 7 podcast, which you can find right here on the Padded Room Podcasting Network. Thank you very much, Miss Feeney, for joining me tonight. Regardless, we are talking about The Children from 1980. Now, about this time, Susie has a delivery to make, and we didn't know about this until right now. She has got to get herself to another house to drop off the apples that she has in her little. Yes, I am by myself, Feeney, and I am sorry if you were hoping to see Monica and or Buddy because they chose not to show up as usual. It's fine. I can do this by myself. I'm used to it. She gets to the house. She's like knocking on the door. There's nobody there. The door creaks open. Now, let's talk about a horror trope real quick. If you get to a house that you're supposed to be at and you knock on the door and the door creaks open, don't fucking go in there. Why would you go in there? You're not going to find anything good, I can tell you right now. But of course, Susie walks right in looking to deliver some apples, do her fucking job, which I like very much. And you should have called me, ass. Well, I'm sorry, Feeney. You're right, I should have. But as usual, Monica and Buddy give me about 15 minutes notice before they tell me that they're not showing up. And that's exactly what happened. So, sorry. Anyway, dude, I'm talking about The Children from 1980. You probably haven't seen it. It's bad. And if I brought you in for this movie, you'd probably punch me in the dick, as you should, regardless. She gets in there. She starts creeping. This creepy old house. It was like a farmhouse. Starts creeping around. Hey, Mrs. Carter, I have your apples. There's nobody there. Eventually, she spooks herself, drops the apples, and she's like, you know what? I'm going to get the fuck out of here because this place is creepy as shit. So she goes back outside, hops on her 10-speed, and that's when the Carter's kid rolls up. Little guy by the name of Polly. He's probably about 10 or 12 years old. Again, he shows up with his black fingernails and he's like, Mama, ah. And she's like, get away from me, Polly, you're acting weird. And he's like, Mama, Mama. She slaps him a few times, Mama, get away from me, Polly. Eventually, he gives her the orange cloud death hug and she gets melted. Although she was scantily clad at this point. I think she was wearing like a wife beater, which is okay. And she gets face and body melted all the way down. It's bad. It's bad business, and that sucks. I was really hoping to see her naked, and that is clearly not happening. If I have forgotten it. As you should, Feeney. This is not a good show. This is actually the first horror movie that I remember watching, and yeah, that's why I'm talking about it. So that's pretty gnarly. Right about now, the sheriff is not like on high alert. We got a bus full of missing kids. Now we have these weird melted bodies showing up all over the place. Things are getting weird. He's like, you know what? This is too much. I got to get some backup. So he goes and picks up the John guy, the father, the one that's married to the 9 months pregnant chain smoker. He's like, dude, I can't get a hold of anybody. I don't know what's going on. Let's go ahead and get the fuck out of here. Let's go find these kids, shall we? Because I think they've been abducted. Okay, excellent. Now the sun is setting. It's nighttime. And Harry, the sheriff's deputy, is still manning the roadblock. He's like, all right, well, he's got Frank and Hank, the two town drunks there. He wants to go back to the farmer's daughter's house, Susie's house, whom he does not know has been melted. And he's like, I'm gonna go pay Susie a visit because I'm gonna put a fucking dick on her. So he takes off. He leaves Frank and Hank, the drunks, in charge of the roadblock. So he gets moseying on down the road, and in the high beams, he spots three of the kids. And he's like, hey, I found the kids. Hey, we can all go to bed now. So he rolls up on them, and he's like, hey, kids, come get in the car. There's three of them. They're like shoulder to shoulder in the middle of the road. He's like, all right, come on in here, get in the car. And then they do the, mama, mama. They got the black fingernails of death, which means we're all in trouble. And their teeth are bad all of a sudden. Mama. Harry gets melted. All right. That sucks. He gets the orange cloud death kiss hug, gets his face melted clean off. Now we don't have a sheriff's deputy either. We're in big fucking trouble here in Ravensback, motherfuckers. We got a lot of problems. So from there, we cut back to the sheriff. He's like, Harry, where are you? Harry, come in here. He just got word from Molly that Harry found the kids and what his last location was. So the sheriff and John go rolling up there, find Harry's dead body, and they're like, "This guy's fucking melted. Jesus Christ! All right, this we got to do something about this. I'm going to go get Dr. Gould, not knowing that she's been melted also, and have her look at this guy." So the sheriff leaves John there with the half-ass melted body of his deputy, goes hauling ass to Dr. Gould's place, finds out that she, along with the weird sex slave, Miss Buttons, have also been melted. Half the goddamn town is melted all of a sudden, and we can't figure out why. So he's like, "Oh, we got a lot of fucking problems here, dude." So he goes back, picks up John, who is still hanging at the body. He's now being chased around by the kids at the body of the deputy. Grabs him. He gets out of there unscathed, luckily. Gets Molly, the town gossip, on the CB radio. He's like, "Dude, fucking people are getting melted. I still don't know where the kids are. Sheriff's deputy Harry said he had them. Now they're not here. Something is running around melting people, and I can't figure it out." So Molly's like, "Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know what's going on either." So Molly is, let's talk about Molly here for a second. Town gossip, CB radio, talking shit about everybody. I understand that. She's like 95 years old. But this general store of hers is very interesting. A lot of alcohol, a lot of booze. You can see it all over the backdrop. She also has a wide arrangement of like shotguns, shells. I thought I saw some body armor back there. I think Molly may be running her own militia, like out of the back of the Ravens back general store, which is very strange, considering the town has all of 23 people in it. So they get Molly on the phone. You're like, "Hey, Molly, hey, so I don't know, man. People are getting melted. There's some weird shit. Just don't let anybody in there. We're gonna come see you in a few minutes." So she's like, "Okay, great." As soon as she gets off the radio, the kids circle Molly's general store, and they start like chanting, "Molly, come out to play." They're not doing the Warriors thing. They're like, "Molly," and she's like, "Oh my God, it's the children! Oh, thank God!" Scarlett's in the house. "What's up, Scarlett?" She's like, "Oh my God, it's the children." So she's a sweet old lady, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go out there and say hi to the children." She goes out there. She's armed, but she's dealing with kids, right? So she's like, "Oh, it's the children, give me up." She gets the orange death cloud also. Melts her fucking face completely off. It's disgusting. She was an old lady to begin with. Now she's like an old lady puddle on the ground. Ooh, think about that. It's gross. While they're on the blower with her, they basically hear her get puddled, which is disgusting. About this time, they're like, "Dude, I don't know how many people are left in this town. It's clearly the kids are the source of the problem. They're running around melting people with their weird orange tang death cloud face melting operation." So John starts to panic. He's like, "Sheriff, dude, my wife is home alone. My son is sick. My daughter is probably out melting people. Let's go back to my house, please, and then we will just make sure they're okay, and then we can check out the rest of the town later. I'm covered in stage blood and should really take a shower, but I want to watch you do all these voices first. Go take a shower, Scarlett. It sounds nasty." Uh, yes. So they're like, "Okay, let's go back to your place." So they haul ass back to John's place to make sure his wife and kid are okay. Get there, the wife is fine. She's still smoking. She's still 9 months pregnant. This point, this really pissed me off because at one point she lights up a cigarette, rubs her 9 month pregnant belly, and is like, "Sorry." As if to say, "I know smoking is bad for you, unborn baby, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm a shit human being." And that's exactly what she is. We're going to get into that even more here in a second. So, John and the sheriff roll up. They're like, "Dude, kids are out there. I think Lisa, our daughter, is part of the fucking problem. Being covered in stage blood is fun." Alan used to be part of a pain circus, so he's been covered in his own blood. I've seen it live. It's disturbing. He was a human dartboard at one point. That's neither here nor there. Back to the children. So they get there, and now we have like a siege narrative in place because we have 9 month pregnant Kathy, that's John's wife, who nobody likes. We have John and we have the sheriff, and they're trying to hold down the fort and protect the 9-year-old sick kid Clarky, who is there, Clarky, who is there from the other kids getting in and doing what they do, putting the orange Tang death cloud on him too. So it's pretty cool. At first, we got the sheriff and John are like running around with shotguns and they're shooting at the kids as they pop out of the trees. That's pretty cool. At one point, however, Kathy has like a freak out moment. She's like, "They're children. They're just children. You can't shoot children." She's a fucking chain smoking truck driver who's 9 months pregnant, and she's a pretty disgusting human being. She spends the entirety of the movie wearing one of those moo thing. I don't know what you call those things. I've always heard them referred to as moo Those full body shower curtain things. I don't know what morbidly obese people wear them, specifically ladies. I think they're supposed to look like dresses. They look more like circus tents, if you ask me. Regardless, that's what she's wearing while she's smoking cigarettes, while she's 9 months pregnant. She's a terrible human being. And to nail that point home, while the sheriff is trying to, fend off the homicidal mutant radiation kids, she sneaks up behind him and knocks him out with a vaser vase. And she's like, "You can't shoot at children." He's trying to save your fucking ass, bitch. All right? How about you show a little gratitude and not knock him out with potted plants? Regardless, John rolls up and he's like, "Dude, what are you doing? You just knocked out the sheriff." And she's like, "He's shooting at children." I know he's shooting at children. They're trying to get in here and kill us, by the way. So at this point, Kathy is looking down at the kids running around throughout the woods, and she's like, "There's my daughter, Lisa. I'm going to go help her." Lisa is one of these mutated freaks with the black fingernails, if you're not paying attention. So she goes running down there. She opens the door and she's like, "Lisa, give me a hug." John's like, "No, you don't give her a hug. She's going to put the orange death cloud on you." So at the last second, he grabs Kathy and pulls her away. But then Lisa grabs John's hand, and you get to see John's hand like bubble up with the weird chemical burn. And then the sheriff, who has come to, like grabs him and pulls him back in there. So now John is short a hand, which is disgusting, or it's like he can use it, just not for anything important. Uh, Kathy has let the mutated kids inside, uh, which we're about to get to my favorite part of the movie. And now they're all piling in after the sheriff and John and Lee and Kathy. So this part is great because once she gets inside, she saw what Lisa did to John's hand, and she's like, "Ah!" But Lisa, their daughter, comes in and she's like, "Mama," doing the same thing. And this is my favorite part of the whole movie because Gail Garnett is not attractive, and they did absolutely nothing to help her out in this movie, keeping her in that moo and having her chain smoking with her already hoarse voice the entire movie. But this is my favorite part because Lisa comes in and she's like, "Mama, mama," and Gail Garnett, Kathy, is like cornered against the wall, and she does like a she does like a horse scream. It's like I swear to God, that's exactly what she does. It's hilarious. If I could get that as like my incoming message alert, I would love that. That just that weird, that chain smoking horse truck driver voice doing a, oh, it's beautiful. Anyway, so now we have like a cat and mouse thing that goes on throughout the house. They manage Clarky, the kid, unfortunately gets the same radioactive treatment, and he becomes one of the zombie mutants or whatever you want to call them. We get like this part of the movie goes on for about 20 minutes, give or take. It's a bit of a thing. You've been drinking, haven't you? Can you tell, Feeney? That's what happens when I'm left on my own. Yes, I have been drinking, and that part is hilarious, regardless of my alcohol content. So we get like a cat and mouse thing throughout the farmhouse. They lead the kids out to like a weird chicken coop kind of a thing. Kids go out there, then they bring them back, then they go back and forth, back and forth. Eventually, they come to the conclusion that you can actually kill these kids, these zombie kids, if you cut their hands off. Sever their black fingernails, and that will take care of the problem. That actually kills them. And more to the point, which is even funnier, when you do cut their hands off, orange smoke comes flying out of their wrist. Like a fire extinguisher went off or some shit. And then they die. They just lay down and die. So that is probably the weirdest approach to zombies I've ever seen in my life. Black fingernails identifies them as zombies. To kill them, you have to cut their hands off. So once they figure that out, they kind of, they start lobbing off the hands. One of them like reaches in and then they grab the hand and they cut it off. And then they corner a bunch of them in the chicken coop and they cut their hands off. Unfortunately, John is forced with the problem of having to cut his own daughter's hands off. Very emotional scene. They're thinking, you know what? We got the last of them. We're good. We killed all the kids. We cut all the zombie kids' hands off, so we're good to go. Sheriff's like, woo! That was a crazy fucking night, man. I'm gonna get in my cop car, go home, and take a shower, probably go to bed. So as he gets in his cop car, another kid pops up out of the back seat with the black fingernails, does the orange tang face melt hug on the sheriff. He's dead. John runs up there and kills that kid, who was hopefully the last of the zombie fingernail kids, and that's the end of them. And then from there, we cut to Kathy upstairs in the bathroom, yelling and screaming and freaking out. So John goes running up there. She's going into labor, which is a bit of a stretch considering the amount of cigarette smoking she's done while she's pregnant, but whatever. Needless to say, they deliver the baby themselves, and the baby comes out and starts breastfeeding. And the last shot of the movie is a close up on the baby's fingernails, in which you see black fingernails, i.e., they gave birth to a zombie baby, a zombie mutant, radioactive baby. I don't know. I don't know what these goddamn things are. And that is pretty much the end of your movie. That was The Children from 1980, got 5.5 stars. The first horror film that I recall watching. Um, it's not as bad as I remember it. I'll tell you this, it was scored by the same guy that scored the very first Friday the 13th movie. I want to say it was Harry Manfredini, but I don't think it was him. I think it was like one of his assistants that did this one. Very similar score. So if you like the score from Friday the 13th, you're going to love this one because it sounds exactly the same, really. Um, it's not a bad, it's a very strange approach to zombies and zombie kids specifically. Now, there's another movie that came out in 2011, also called The Children, which is similar. I mean, Killer Kids, obviously, takes a more homicidal approach. I don't know. I don't know that it's a remake or that it has anything to do with this at all, but it's much better. So, if you're in the market for some Killer Kids, I say you check out The Children from 2011. Avoid The Children from 1980 unless there's some. You know what? Never mind that part. You can check this one out. It's worth a watch at least once, if nothing else, just to scratch your head and be like, "What the fuck is orange smoke and black fingernails? How does this is zombies or I don't know. I don't know what's going on." Uh, Other than that, man, it's worth a watch. I'd say. Why not? Why not check it out? It's weird. It's a weird movie. There is some boobs in there also. Not the best boobs in the world, but they're boobs anyway. So that's that. Check it out. Children from 1980. We're going to take us a little break and come back with some other stuff, inmates. All right, you maniacs. I'm still here. Any questions? Thank you, guys, whoever's still watching this, if anybody. Sorry, I don't have the usual cast and crew with me this evening. If you were hoping to see Monica's boobs, I think she may be back in 2 weeks. By the way, we're taking next week off because I'm having this room refloored, and I think it's going to be chaos in here. So, no Padded Room podcast next week. I apologize for that. You're going to have the rest of the regular shows, though. I got another episode of Wicked Wednesdays on deck as we speak. I came back from doing fantasy football. Oh, well, thank you for rejoining us, Troy. Um, Who Will Survive, Horror for Dummies, all the regular shows here in the Padded Room. We will not be present next week, though, due to renovations, I guess, for lack of a better term. So there's that. Um, we got our first hater, man. Don't care about boobs. Well, Feeny, you should, because they are magnificent. I'm here. Thank you very much, Alan. Um, yeah, man, we're going to take next week off. Sorry about that. We'll join you in 2 weeks from now. I don't know what's going on with the Psycho Bunny death cult. I don't know if there even is a Psycho Bunny death cult anymore. This just may be us from now on. We're going to play it by ear as things go. Somehow, somebody reported us for something over there, and the whole shit got shut down. Maybe we can get it back up. I don't know. I asked for a Facebook review. If not, then we. Are you sure there might be more haters? I like to think that there would be more haters, Troy. You know, I feel like I've been doing this for 8 years. I feel like I should have earned more haters by now. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not trying to be offensive, but just in the volume of content that I'm putting out, you would think that more people would hate me for that. I mean, I'm working hard over here, Troy. You know, what why can't people hate me the same way they hate other guys? I earned it, god damn it. Stay with your page. Yeah, I think I will from now on, Troy. I don't know, man. If I don't know what's going on over there with the Psycho Bunnies, but I'm happy to join them. Might just stay here in the padded room from now on. I don't know. We're gonna play that by ear, see how it plays out. You know, we'll just hang, and we're gonna go live somewhere every week. It may be under my own personal thing, or it might be under Buddy's. Let's see who gets banned this week, and then we'll go from there. You know what I mean? Hey, we're still live. Nobody's reported me for anything yet. I can hit you if you. Oh, come on, Alan. I mean, it would be nice if Alan. You know I love you, and you're a big part of this. What we're doing here. More sharing on Facebook. Thank you very much, Roy. Why report? Don't watch if you don't like. I agree, Feeny. What happened to changing the channel? That's how this country was. You know, that's how it's like one of the fundamentals of free speech is that if you don't like what somebody's saying, you walk away. Instead, everybody's go, "Oh, I'm offended." All this horseshit. I'm talking about fucking horror movies over here. Plenty of people hate Ron. Ron earned it because he's Ron. Regardless, you know, if you don't like what I'm saying, don't unsubscribe and delete all the podcasts, or continue to subscribe, but just delete my podcast. Continue listening to Tim and Alan and everybody else who are actually putting some effort into their show and have co-hosts that show up from time to time. Something I'm clearly lacking. All right, guys. I people are dicks. I agree, Feeny. Um, you know what are you gonna? I'm just glad I have a hater because it's taken me 8 years to achieve this, and thank you very much, Eldridge Palmer 666. Your presence is very much appreciated, and thank you for all your snide remarks. Because I'll come and team up. Come on over, Troy. Let's team up on Eldridge Palmer 66. Don't go after Eldridge Palmer 66. No, he's not a dick. Oh wait, you're talking about Ron, aren't you? But I don't know, man. I feel like if you're gonna hate me, you should hate me not for that movie because Eldridge Palmer 666 was all about the strange color of your body's tears, and I really want to know what anybody likes about that movie because I don't fucking get it. Eldridge Palmer 666, engage me, please. Tell me what you liked about it. Tell me what I missed. I stated plainly during that entire show that I am not smart enough for that movie. So if you would like to come on and explain to me the nuances or whatever the fuck I missed, because I missed a lot, I would love to hear your side of the story. So engage me. I'm here. I'm at your disposal. Tell me what's up, and explain to me how anybody likes the strange. Has anybody out there seen the strange color of your body's tears? If you have, I would love to know. Number one, if you liked it. Number two, if you did like it, why? Everybody that I've talked to within the various communities, we're all pretty much in agreement that it's crap, artsy fartsy for the sake of artsy fartsy, which nobody wants to see, right? Unless you're on acid or something. Yeah, it's not good. Thank you very much, Troy. I don't get it, man. Maybe I'm not smart enough. But all right, I've droned on long enough. Thank you guys very much for joining me. The regular podcast will be out tonight. It's a solo show, as you can see. So I hope you're ready for that. I hope you're ready for my nasally drone. Uh, you know, in monotone because that's all you're getting. Sorry. Uh, Complain to Buddy and Monica because they didn't care to show up. All right, enough about this. Thank you very much for joining me. I will see you later tonight with the regular podcast. Um, no podcast next week. I'm going to tell you right now, 2 weeks from now, you can join us for Day of the Triffids. I'm picking this one on behalf of Monica, who's not here. I know that was one of her first and favorite horror films. So, Day of the Triffids, 2 weeks from now. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you then.